Hello everyone. Weird angle, this is a very odd background. I am not digging this background at all. Jesus Christ is Lord. Hi everyone, it is I. I am going to throw this out there before I begin talking. In order to open and build deep connections, I wish that randoms would ask me bizarre questions. If I'm going to have a relationship with you, I want to get down to the nitty-gritty and I want to see your soul, no strings attached. Obviously, you can't go about every relationship like this. You can't go about your professional relationships. You can't go about this with authority, and you can't go about this with most of the people that you meet on a day-to-day basis. But in a casual setting, when you are building your social circle, or even a romantic pursuit, I would admire if people asked me specifically these questions. Obviously, you have a different preference of what you wish that people would ask you. Everyone has a different palette on what they enjoy and what they don't enjoy. This is just common sense. Do you experience spiritual displacement on a day-to-day basis? And if so, what happens? Obviously, when I am trying to dig at someone and when I'm trying to find information out about them and trying to find out what someone likes and what they don't like, and I generally like to ask them about their positive past romantic experiences and obviously positive non-romantic past experiences with people. I like to know when people have experienced heightened sense of feeling alive. I like to find out when someone has experienced love. I like to find out what colors someone's memory with positivity. Nostalgic albums. Do you have any songs or albums that bring up immense amounts of nostalgia? I sure as hell have probably 100 albums that make me feel specific ways, take me back to specific times. Sometimes when I'm listening to these albums, I can even smell specific smells from a specific time period in my life, which is really fun. I think nostalgia is a really fun feeling and emotion to play around with, and it's something that really permeates inside of my brain. I feel like if I could wrap myself in one comfortable, warm feeling, I would break the nostalgia egg onto a frying pan and proceed to
eat that shit sunny side up.
A very important one, in my opinion. Something that people do not ask me, nor do I ask people, because not a lot of people practice meditation. But if someone asked me what I visualize in meditation, that's a very interesting question, because now you're picking at someone's subconscious. And I love that. A lot of my art stems from the visuals that I pick up in deep meditation. Personally, recently, last meditation that I experienced visuals, most meditation I experienced a harmonious blend of lots of colors. I generally get this thing that I call the frying pan simulator effect, where I feel like I am in a microwave or maybe a frying pan, and my whole physical body is like essentially turning to static and my mind is like warping, and I feel like I am an egg getting fried. It sounds horrible, but it's honestly very pleasurable. It's more intense than any drug I've ever experienced. It's very fun to get to that level of meditation, because then the mind chatter has completely shut off and I am in a state of entranced bliss, which I really enjoy. But some visuals when I get deep in meditation, I begin to see my spirit guide, my higher self. I get taken to a very, very, very visually and emotionally stimulated sacred place, and sometimes I get very funky visuals. There's this one guided meditation that I find very therapeutic, that I can find a lot of catharsis with as well. I like to envision two entities, generally myself and someone else. If I'm having emotional problems with someone else, this is not if I'm physically and verbally having problems with a person, but let's just say I'm trying to emotionally separate myself from someone. I like to do a meditation where I envision a long cord attaching from my chest to someone else's chest, floating, no gravity, in a giant pair of scissors, cutting that cord. Sounds a little morbid, sounds a little heavy metal, but it's not. As the other person floats away and the cord is unconnected, I give them my blessing, and I guess call to the gods to look over them and bless them and comfort them and fill them with whatever they need to find happiness and peace throughout their existence. And I also envision, last time I got many half-naked men with the upper half as a masculine male body and then the lower half as a sperm molecule, or sperm flagella, the little thing on the end of a sperm cell. That was really weird, and I know that this is very Tumblr artsy, I'm going to sell this on Etsy starter pack, but I generally see a giant green eyeball. I'm like wondering if it's like the eye of God or something. But it's very huge, and it is like permeating my subconscious and looking directly at me. It's very intense. Sometimes even a road will go through the eyeball. Like I can see like the road permeating out of the pupil, going through the pupil off into the distance. That is very spicy when that happens. What is the pinnacle of existence? What is your pinnacle of existence? To some, it might be sex, drugs, rock and roll. To some, it might be eating a juicy fruit on a ripe summer day. You never know, depending on the person. What makes you feel like you have peaked in life? What are your obsessions at the moment? Great question. Gives you a frame of reference to see where the person is at in their life right now and what they have interest in. Mine changes all the time. I've been listening to sad boy lo-fi music ever since early high school. Anything that the lead singer of Elvis Depressedly, any side project, Coma Cinema, and all that good stuff, Elvis Depressedly, and especially Sam Ray, lead singer of Teen Suicide, all that Starry Cat, Julia Brown, all that just very, very lo-fi, borderline inaudible, just like sadcore music. It's been really stimulating and like heavily addictive, just listening to these same albums on repeat all day, every day. I guess I could say filming myself talking to this camera and just aimlessly editing it on a regular basis. That's pretty weird. It's been a pretty weird obsession of mine for a very long time now. That's one that just hasn't flown out the door yet. So right off the bat in my notes, I have a pretty dense and dark question. Obviously, you can feel the ground out before you ask someone a question very dense like this, but what triggers your depression? What makes you sad? I think it's a pretty straightforward question. Personally, I think that it's a pretty easy question to answer. If I were to answer that question of what makes me sad, I would have to say some past events that have happened to me. Maybe some relationships that I have with people. make me uncomfortable, and sometimes the way that my head is screwed on or the way that my brain is wired makes me a little sad. But I'm sure people feel that way, and maybe I could find some common ground with someone if they were to ask me a question like that. To wrap this up, what is the best compliment that you could receive? What do you like? What do you like people to notice about yourself? For me, nothing feels better than a nice compliment on my art. If someone really takes the time to look at something that I worked on for hours and put a lot of thought into, something straight out of my subconscious projected onto a piece of paper, and they take the time to look at it and comment, "The detail is immaculate, this is interesting, I like this piece of artwork," then I'm going to be flattered and my week is going to be made, guaranteed. But that's just me personally. For other people, it could be something about their appearance, it could be something about their personality, their humor. I don't know. It's just interesting. So I encourage you to go out and find different ways on getting to know the people around you, making deeper connections, and really embracing life. And really getting to know those around you, because it makes life more decadent and it makes life more interesting.